Tonight, a driver lucky to survive after rolling their car onto its roof on the Lincoln Highway. And the local company putting pen to paper to supply millions of dollars worth of PPE to Neostar.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf Studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Emergency services have responded to a car crash outside Whyalla. And judging by the state of the wreck, it's a miracle the driver and their dog made it out alive, let alone relatively unscathed. Edward McCarroll was on the scene.
Just before midday today, a car travelling along the Lincoln Highway came off the road before rolling onto its roof. The driver was then rushed to the Whyalla Hospital. Emergency services were alerted to the crash at 11:05. Crews attending the rollover site adjacent to the Middleback Ranges, about 30 minutes outside of Whyalla. SAPOL says the driver of the car, a 45-year-old Whyalla woman, received non-life-threatening injuries. Ambulance staff securing the woman's injured shoulder on site before transporting her to the Whyalla Hospital. The Hyundai Getz involved was severely damaged, with the crash appearing to rip the back door off its hinges and denting every side of the car. Despite this, the woman's dog, who was inside the car when it crashed, was able to escape unscathed. MFS and CFS personnel remained on site to clean up debris. Temporary road restrictions were put in place, with traffic diverted to one side of the highway. With the car's damage indicating that the vehicle may have rolled multiple times. That's one lucky dog.
Just 6 months after starting up in Port Pirie, local South Australian business Air Trading has been awarded a major contract worth around $7 million. The announcement attracting quite the crowd.
There's nothing better than 2 local businesses joining forces to solve a problem. And that's exactly what Neostar and Air Trading have done, with Air Trading now supplying all personal protective equipment for the Neostar team.
I believe it's a win-win. It's great that Neostar have a philosophy of supporting local business, but we were conscious we had to give a value proposition to Neostar.
This partnership also brings with it the added benefits of a better service, local employment opportunities, and creating a more sustainable supply chain.
Providing a lot of their equipment, which can be sourced from the national companies directly from Adelaide or overseas or interstate, and then looking at putting more money back into this community here.
With exciting projects happening throughout the Spencer Gulf, Minister for Energy and Mining, Tom Koutsantonis, paid the region as well as Neostar a visit.
It's a very important piece of infrastructure for South Australia, indeed for the nation. It's an important smelter. We want to make sure that the smelter's got a long life. And the South Australian government's very keen to make sure that we can give them every advantage possible to compete nationally and internationally.
Neostar's local procurement program has seen an increase in local spending grow by 40% from 2019 to 2021, increasing from an already impressive $60 million to $85 million per year. The GNUSG Conference and Trade Expo wrapping up in Port Pirie earlier today. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
As interest rates rise and the cost of living continues to soar, several financial advisors have visited Port Augusta. While the housing market can be difficult to predict regarding buying or selling, spare a thought for renters who may struggle just to find a roof over their head.
The Reserve Bank of Australia expects more interest rate rises in the future, meaning further impacts on borrowers and investors. With these pressures in a changing market, an investment and mortgage seminar was held in Port Augusta, highlighting the need for local connections to give better understanding about what residents need with financial planning.
Places like Port Augusta is that we realise that community is very strong, and we're happy to be here at the local oval in the community centre.
Regional centres like Port Augusta often suffer from less choice in financial planning, reducing flexibility borrowers and investors can spare.
We just need to be able to have the chance to diversify, if possible, just to ensure that everyone has the right choice of lender and the right policy.
Another issue affecting many regional centres is affordable rentals, with the crisis not getting any better.
It's a dire problem right now. Normally, a rental vacancy rate of 3 to 4% is achievable in a marketplace. At the moment, we're talking less than 1%. So, less than 1% of properties are sitting on the market for 4 weeks.
Mr Flynn has called on more land releases to help ease the rental market. Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Broken Hill and surrounds will be bustling over the next 3 days with the Mundi Bash. But it's worth sticking around after the festival as well. The Mundi Fringe Markets are just one of the attractions visitors can attend to pick up a bargain or two.
The south of Broken Hill will come alive on Sunday, with the Mundi Fringe Markets coming to Patton Park, one day after the bash wraps up.
We are excited, yes. It's a great chance to get out in the park, use the park and earn some money because we want to extend the new park into the old park down the back.
The committee is trying to make Patton Street a vibrant centre once again, and there's no better way to do it than with a market day.
And in the park we'll have a few food stalls. We've got Larry with his barbecue, and he just loves to see anybody who wants to buy a sausage sizzle.
The committee is hoping for a big turnout on Sunday from both locals and tourists from the bash.
Yeah, a good turnout. We need a good turnout. Hopefully we've done enough publicity to get people interested, Broken Hill people, and hopefully we'll get some publicity out to the bashers as well, so that they come as well.
The committee is still on the hunt for some volunteers to help out on the day, and a few strong ones won't go astray. If you can help, contact the Patton Village Committee through their Facebook page. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, the staggering number of Australians dealing with wounds that just won't heal. And more than half a century since the Battle of Long Tan, RSLs across the Spencer Gulf fall silent this Vietnam Veterans Day. Welcome back. August 15 to 21 is National Wound Awareness Week, and the Far West Local Health District is making sure people know the effects that untreated wounds can have. Dubbed a silent epidemic, chronic wounds affect nearly 500,000 Australians every day.
Far West Local Health is hoping the community becomes more aware about what can happen to a wound when it's left untreated.
It's headed by Wounds Australia, which is our governing body for wounds awareness. So it happens annually, and it's about bringing awareness to wounds, particularly chronic wounds.
The number of people who suffer from chronic wounds across the country is nearly 500,000, and it takes a big toll.
And things that people should look out for include, as I said, increased pain, swelling, increased fluid coming from the wound, and just that long time to heal.
Annually, the cost of chronic wounds is $3 billion nationwide, affecting people not just physically but financially and mentally as well.
Having a chronic wound that can go on for a long time is something that's very painful and interferes with people's lives. So it's not just the financial burden, it's the burden on people's lives as well.
For anyone living with a chronic wound in the Far West,
in Broken Hill we have our specialist wound clinic, which is a nurse-led clinic. So the best option is for people to be seen by their GP first. That's the first port of call, and then the GP can refer them in to us.
Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A memorial service was held in Port Augusta today to commemorate our Vietnam veterans. Today marks 56 years since one of the most prominent battles involving Australian soldiers, the Battle of Long Tan.
A solemn occasion at the Port Augusta RSL, where members gathered to mark the 56th anniversary of the Battle of Long Tan and 60 years since Australian forces landed in South Vietnam. On the 18th of August 1966, the 1st Field Division of the Royal Australian Artillery, along with New Zealand troops, fought the Viet Cong and the People's Army of Vietnam, pushing back the enemy in the most famous engagement of the conflict involving Australian forces in Vietnam. 3 soldiers from Port Augusta left Australia, never to return.
They're on the memorial board inside, and all the World War II veterans World War I veterans to roll up on the board, and hopefully one day we'll have a day for Afghanistan veterans and Iraq veterans. One day, hopefully.
Among those in attendance was Mayor of Port Augusta Brent Benbow and former Deputy Premier Dan Van Holst-Pelican, who joined the many Vietnam veterans remembering their fallen comrades.
We all lost friends. Some of us found it difficult and got help through medical. But yeah, it just brings back memories, and not all memories are good, but we live with what we've got.
The Port Augusta RSL is urging younger veterans to join the branch to keep the memory and spirit of our fallen soldiers alive, as year by year there are fewer veterans from past conflicts still around. Lest we forget. Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Meet the new face at the helm of all things squash in Port Lincoln, and an aerial view of some roos in the southern Flinders region. Welcome back. The state government has welcomed the release of the interim report of the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide. Released last week, the report outlines the preliminary observations in key areas regarding suicide prevention and recommendations that urgent action is taken to support Australian veterans.
Been out there trying to understand, talking to veterans, different organisations, and specifically younger veterans with their families in particular. This report is pretty emotional, I must say that. It's got a lot of issues in there.
If you or anyone you know needs support, you can call Lifeline on 13 11 13. The Department of Environment and Water is taking to the skies this week, with staff conducting an aerial survey on the region's kangaroo populations. Setting off yesterday morning, the surveyors will continue daily flights until Friday, August 26th, with planes flying from the east of the state to the west, above the Flinders Ranges, Mid-North and Yorke Peninsula regions. Port Lincoln squash is back in full swing, and it has a new face at the helm. The new president looks at growing the sport, hoping to attract more junior players to its competition.
Port Lincoln squash players hitting the ball from all angles. Teams took to the court on Tuesday night, putting on a competitive display of squash. However, this time round the competition will see a new president holding the racket, who wants to see more people do the same.
Yeah, we're just looking for getting more new people into the club here, and trying to get more numbers, and with everything that's gone on the last couple of years, there just hasn't been enough people here, so we're trying to get as many people here as we can.
The club has plans to expand its offerings, hoping to work with schools and teach junior players the game. Young gun Harry Izzo encouraging others to come have a hit.
Be good, yeah. I'm probably one of the only juniors to play, so it'd be good to get some other young ones out.
This season seeing the return of 5 teams compared to 4. Now a women's competition is also off and running, played on Thursday nights.
So the women's comp started on Thursdays, I think it was that last season. It's been really good. The ladies that we had playing on the Tuesday night have all switched to the Thursday.
The club welcoming new players to join, whether it's socially or to stay fit in the off-season.
But, we try to keep it casual as well. But yeah, there's always some competitive matches.
We're always welcome to new players that, even if they've never played before, just to come out, give it a go.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Reports of whiting at Tumby Bay, as well as the rest of our fishing tips. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Spencer Gulf anglers keen to wet a line this weekend will not be disappointed with a stellar lineup of fish up for the catching. Here's this week's Fish and Tips.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fish and Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel the North. Well, that little bit of rain would have stirred up the silver whiting. You can try along the shoreline, down along the shack, and also if you can get around to Port Patterson and that for those. They'll generally be in there foraging around. Some big kingfish are getting caught, although they're a little bit cagey about where they're getting them. I have heard sort of the old powerhouse, but also around Port Patterson as well. Crabs can still be caught at the moment. They take a little bit longer. There's a few King George whiting around, but no real great bags of those, and the last of the squid is still hanging around. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
High whalers fishing tips this week. The local jetty and the foreshore both producing a few silver whiting. The local jetty is also holding a few nice garfish. Best later in the night for the garfish on the calmer nights. Using floats with some gents and a little bit of top burley has been the best for the garfish. A few squid coming off the local jetty as well. A little bit further around land-based, Point Lowly and Black Point both holding schools of salmon. No signs of kingfish yet, but they shouldn't be too far away. A few of the people off the rock should start to see those pushing through. For the boat anglers, a few King George whiting up around the Mount Young grounds and also a few squid in the same grounds.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. We'll start locally. There's been a few squid caught in the bay, still not great numbers, but a few starting to kick around, which is a good sign. Whiting reports have been fairly lean from in the bay. Better reports have come from down around Thistle. There's been some really nice fish along the eastern and the northern side of Thistle. And also there's been a few fish down the passage, but plenty of red mullet down that way. Been some good reports of whiting out at the group out from Tumby Bay. The south coast of Port Lincoln still has some nice schools of salmon, mainly in that 1.5 to 3 kilo size, and schools have been dotted along the coast down there when the conditions allow. Over at Coffin Bay, reports from in the bay fairly quiet. There are some salmon trout, and there's also a few tommies kicking around over that way as well. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
Can't go wrong with squid and whiting. Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, some decent rain in Port Lincoln last night and some more today.
Thanks, Maddie. Yes, a healthy 11.5 millimetres in the gauges overnight before another 3 fell between 11 and 2:30 this afternoon. And there's more on the way. More on that in just a moment. Temperature-wise, Port Lincoln reached its warmest temperatures super early in the day, around 9 a.m, 15 degrees. A rain bomb fell in Port Augusta just after 3 p.m. today, notching up a few millimetres in a short period of time. Temperature-wise, 19. 18 was the maximum reached in Port Pirie. Looking more broadly at today's weather map now, Cooper Pedy was the only centre spared of any rain, reaching 22, 20 over the border in Broken Hill, 16 in Kadina and Adelaide. Taking a look at the satellite image now, a cold front over South Australia will continue to move eastwards tonight. A high southwest of WA will extend a ridge over the north of South Australia on Friday, allowing another front to pass over the southeast of the state overnight, Friday and early Saturday morning. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. West to southwesterly winds 15 to 20 knots. Seas between 1 and 1.5 metres, and south to southwesterly swell below a metre, increasing up to 1.5 metres. A very high chance of showers in Port Lincoln tomorrow, most likely in the afternoon and evening, heading for a top of 16 degrees there. A shower or two and 15 in Cleve, rain increasing around Woodner 17. Becoming cloudy in Wowler on Friday between 5 and 18 degrees, becoming cloudy around Port Augusta as well, heading for a top of 19 degrees there. A shower or two and 16 in Kadina. Another rainy day in Port Pirie between 6 and 17 degrees, showers and 13 in Clare, and partly cloudy in Broken Hill between 5 and 16 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, starting with Saturday's outlook, rain everywhere except for the usual suspects, Broken Hill and Cooper Pedy, 17 in Port Pirie, Port Lincoln and Adelaide, 19 in Woodner and Port Augusta, 18 in Wowler. Sunday's looking a fair bit drier across the board, which, as we know, isn't necessarily a good thing. Partly cloudy and 19 in Broken Hill. Perfect conditions to head along to the Monday fringe markets. 22 in Port Augusta and Cooper Pedy. Medium chance of showers in Port Lincoln, 17. And finally, taking our first look at how the start of the working week is looking. And just like that, the rain is back. Showers expected everywhere that's close to the water. 23 in Port Port Augusta 21 in Whyalla, 20 in Port Pirie, Port Lincoln and Kadina both heading for a top of 17 degrees. And that's all the weather from me for tonight, Maddie. I'll see you soon with an update. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday. I'm Madeline Kerr, but thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.